Okay, welcome to the day 2 of SPARC Symposium cum workshop on recent advances in machine translation. Today, the first session will be on visual description. This will be a tutorial by Alok Singh, Loitongbam Sanayai Meetei, myself and Professor Sivaji. So now I would like to request Alok Singh to start the tutorial session on visual description. Alok?
Yes, sir.
Can you please share your screen?
Is it visible?
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
Clear.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alok Singh, and I am a PhD candidate in National Institute of Technology, Silchar, under the supervision of Dr. Thoudam, Doren, Singh, and Professor Sivaji Bandyopadhyay. Our team basically works in the area of machine translation and visual description generation. In the today's tutorial, I will talk about visual description generation, fusion of vision and natural language. Basically, here we will see how the machine translation approaches are the driving force behind the success of video description and image description tasks. The outline of the presentation is that the topics I will be covering in this tutorial. Firstly, I will give an introduction about the visual description, then brief discussion over a current state-of-the-art approaches in the field of image and video description, including the methods which are substantially used to improve the quality of the generated description. And in this, I will also discuss our PLSTM framework, which we have proposed in MATEX 2020 Video Captioning Challenge. At last, I will discuss the applications of a visual description and existing challenges in this task. Firstly, an overview, what is the goal of visual description generation and what we need to learn for this task. In general, visual description generation aims to generate a natural language sentence to describe the content in an image or video. So in this process, for given this an image as an input, the output will be a girl and horse stand by a fire. Similarly, for a video also, given a sequence of a frame as an input, the output will be a young girl is talking to judges on a singing show. This capability of describing visual scene is required in many applications that need to translate visual scene into a natural language, but it is very challenging. Basically, the visual description generation is a generalized term that refers to both image and video description. Now let's do an small exercise. How would you describe this particular visual scene to another person who cannot see it? Can anybody answer it? Okay, since another person cannot see, so we need to visually identify every details and decide what to describe. Taking this visual scene as an example, we can see there are a lot of visual activities occurring simultaneously. For example, the whole road is jammed due to heavy traffic. There is a black car which is parked near the dustbin. Some people are crossing the road and the dustbin is placed in the footpath. In the background, there is a huge building. And at the side of a road, there is a one woman who is standing with a handbag. So now we can see this particular visual scene contain lots of information. So to describe a particular visual scene clearly, we firstly need to know what exactly everything is, where is it, what it is doing in relation to other objects, and we have to also consider the other attribute like the color and the position of the objects, and what is in background or foreground. So giving all these information, we have to decide what is important to describe and what is not. To generate a description, a road is jammed due to heavy traffic and some people are crossing the road. We need to combine all the above discussed skills. And this exercise also shows that the visual description generation is a complex task. It required a wide range of knowledge. To simulate all these skills in an artificial intelligence system, we need to train the model to learn the relationship between the words and the visual objects. Now, the labels in which a description can be generated for a particular visual scene. The understanding of a video content and video or the image content and describing them can be done at multiple levels as shown in given figure. We have categorized this generation process in low level, mid level and high level. As shown in this figure, at the low level, we focus on detecting and recognizing the visual objects and the attributes in the particular visual scene and then describe them in the form of semantic words. For example, for this particular visual scene as an input, the output will be girl, little girl, dog, pink t-shirt and bench. In the mid level, we not only focus on detecting the objects, but we also identify the relationship among these objects. For example, for this particular visual scene, uh, we have detected the relationship between the girl and the dog. But here we will observe one thing that the relationship between the bench and the girl or dog is not uh, identified. So at the high level, we describe the whole scenario of the input visual scene with a proper description, and this description contain all the necessary visual action which are occurring in particular visual scene. For example, the description generated for this particular visual scene is a little girl in a pink t-shirt sitting over a bench and hugging a dog. So we have focus on the visual attribute, that is the pink color, which is the color of this the t-shirt that girl is wearing. We have also focused on the relationship between the bench, which is in background, and the girl, and the relationship between the girl and dog also. So from here, basically, we can see that the task of a visual description basically falls in the intersection of computer vision and natural language, where the computer vision helps focus on detecting the visual activities occurring in the particular visual scene, and the natural language processing helps to generate a fluent description using those detected scene objects and attributes. So why visual description generation is challenging? As we have already seen in the previous slide, that a particular visual scene contain lots of information. So an artificial intelligence model find it challenging due to the presence of multiple objects, attribute, and the multiple object-object relationship. As you can see in this particular visual scene, there are multiple objects and the object-object relationship occurring simultaneously. And this process get more harder when video is given as an input. So to address all these challenges, similar to human, artificial intelligence model also try to learn from multiple modalities such as image, video, text, audio, or the sentiment of that particular visual scene. Now, before discussing the approaches advanced in the given for the both image and video description tasks in detail, let's see the phases in which these approaches can be categorized. Basically, these approaches can categorize into classical method-based phase, statistical method-based phase, and recent deep learning-based phase. If you will observe one thing that the same phases are also available in machine translation, because in the machine translation we have just in the input we have a text in a particular language, and we have to generate a sequence of a text in the another language. But in the visual description generation process, we will have an image in the input, and we have the output will be a description for that particular image. So in this presentation we will analyze that most of the approaches which are proposed for video description generation are motivated from the machine translation approaches. If we will talk about the classical method based phase, here we have researchers have focused on two type of approaches: retrieval based approach and template based approach. The idea of retrieval based approach is that for query image or video, visually similar data is retrieved from the database, and then the description of that retrieved image is returned as a description for that query data. While in the template-based approach, firstly, subject, object, verb are detected for a particular visual scene, and then they are filled in the predefined template. Both the approaches have some drawbacks. such as the classical method-based phase mainly focus on detecting predefined entities and describe them using templates, which are not scalable. They require large number of rules to construct them. And although retrieval-based approach provides some flexibility to make some modification to the retrieve description based on the content by, but they also lack in fluency and expressiveness. Similarly, for recent deep learning based approaches also have the end-to-end based approach, attention based approach, and compositional approach. Basically, the end-to-end based approach is the sequential training of description model using encoder decoder, and in the attention based approaches, some attention mechanisms are used to selectively focus on a specific region to generate a particular word in the description. And the compositional approach employs both these are the hybrid approaches which imply both the reinforcement based approaches and the attention based approaches. Now the image description, here we will see, in this we will see how the role of recent pre-training approaches in improving the performance of image description model and other vision language related tasks. In this, we will discuss focus on vision language pre-training, in short VLP, and object semantic aligned pre-training, in short OSCAR. Both the approaches focus on learning the cross-model representation for image text pair, and they are proposed by Microsoft in the recent year 2020. Basically, the baseline VLP model have some drawbacks, which are like ambiguity and lack of grounding, which are addressed. The researchers have addressed in their second model, that is OSCAR. So before discussing the recent language vision pre-training approaches, let's see some previous work on image description. In this slide, we will discuss two approaches which basically belongs to the classical method-based phase. Here, the first figure is the approach which is proposed by Ordonez et al. Basically, this approach belongs to the retrieval-based methods. In this, they have also released one data set of 1 million images with the associated description, which are written by pupils. This approach includes 5 stages. Firstly, a query image is given to the captioning system. Then the visually similar images are retrieved from the database using a global image descriptor. Then at the third stage, the high-level information are extracted for both query image and all the retrieved images using a pre-trained object detectors. And then they have performed some content matching. At the fourth stage, based on the matching score, they have ranked all the images, and finally the description of top ranked images are returned as a description for the query image. While in the second approach, which is basically proposed by Kulkarni et al., in that approach, they have similar to this approach, the above one, which basically use the pre-trained object detectors to detect the objects in particular visual scene. They have used, firstly detected the objects which are present in particular visual scene. Then they have trained a visual attribute classifier, which basically aims to generate the score for a visual attributes like what is the color of that object and the texture. For example, if you take see this dog, for this dog they have generated some visual attribute scores like the color brown and the fur strip, furry, wooden, etc. Similarly for others reasons also. At the third stage, they have used a preposition relationship function, which basically aims to find a relationship score between these detected regions. If we will take the dog and person as an input, so they have generated some score for how near they are, whether they are against to each other or not. For the beside, they have generated some scores. At the fourth stage, they have constructed the conditional random field that incorporates all the unary image potential which are computed from stage 1 to 3, and then they have predicted the labeling for the this graph. And then finally, they have generated using those generated tables, they have generated a description for particular input image. So basically, both the approaches which we have discussed here belongs to classical method-based phase, and they have some drawbacks. Like the performance of both the approaches depends on the object detection model and the classification models they are employing in the systems. Basically, if you will observe this particular image, the objects are detected, the objects which are present in the foreground are effectively detected. But if you will observe, this image also contains in the background the table, chair, and the backstop. So this model is not able to detect those background image objects. So and these approaches basically belongs to employ a retrieval based approach or template based approach. So they have some drawback, like the output of a template based approach is basically not scalable. They are not able to describe all the possible visual scenes available which are occurring in particular visual scene. But on observing that success of deep learning approaches in various computer vision related tasks, researchers have focused on employing a deep learning based approaches for visual description generation. Then the Carpetti et al. In 2015 tried to build an image description model by using a pre-trained convolution neural network to extract the visual features of an input image, which are termed as a conv features. Then they have employed a recurrent neural network to process these image features and generate a sequence of a word in the output. But just using a single feature vector was not sufficient to generate an expressive or an efficient description. So in the recent years, we had proposed to use a detection model such as faster ICNN to detect the boxes and then accept the features of those detected regions. Those features are termed as the region features, and then they have finally employed a recurrent neural network to generate a sequence of a word. And then they have analyzed that these accepted region features was responsible for generating some visual word related to this particular image. And this approach also has shown a superior performance on several benchmark datasets. But after that, some attention-based approaches like bottom-up top-down approaches by Anderson et al. Also proposed, which have outperformed this neural baby talk model, which are proposed by Liu et al. Another recent trend is pre-training. That is, pre-train the model on massive amount of data before fine-tuning on downstream tasks. From a various tasks, it is observed that pre-training helps to learn a better representation and to improve the performance of a downstream task, which we can verify from here that this model employ this pre-trained convolution neural network, which basically trained over the another computer vision related whether it is image classification or object classification task. And then they have used that pre-trained convolution neural network here and to accept the visual features, they have used the descriptor available at the pre-final layer, and they have just directly used those features and fed to the recurrent neural network. But some researchers also have tried to train this model end to end. What they are trying that they have used the pre-train in basically we're in the training of particular deep learning model. We have to start from some random weights. But what they are trying that they are using some pre-trained weights over some other task, and they directly using those trained weight and making the whole model as end-to-end trainable. So here what the model will try is that the model will adjust the weights from not from any random location. It will just start adjusting those weights from some pre-trained locations or some pre-trained values. So BERT is the recent pre-trained model which are widely used in the language community to get the pre-trained word embedding for the input words. It is basically stands for bidirectional encoder representation. It is proposed by Devlin et al. In 2018. There are other pre-trained models also available for word embedding, such as OpenAI GPT, LMO, but and GPT-2 and 3 are also there, but they are not available. They have not released their system code for the in the open domain. So BERT is mostly used pre-trained language model for generating a word embeddings. But the success of a BERT with the success of a BERT, the approach of first pre-train and then fine-tune gain more popularity. Basically, the main difference between the BERT and other model is that they employ a bidirectional attention in the transformer layer. That is, for each token, it can attend all the token in the input sequence. So the final representation of the word depends on the token which are appearing before it and after it. So in that way, it is the final representation of that particular word will also capture the context in that that particular word is appearing. And the BERT is basically available in two variants: BERT base model and BERT large model. BERT base model basically include 12 transformer encoder layer with 110 million parameters, and BERT large model include 24 encoded layers with 340 million parameters. The vision language pre-training. In short, VLP. In this, we will see how the BERT approach, which we have discussed in the previous slide, basically used to get the pre-trained word embedding of the input sentence, is used here for vision language pre-training. Basically, the goal of vision language pre-training is to learn a cross-model representation for both image and text pair, which can be used in various downstream tasks, such as image description tasks or the visual question answering. In the vision language pre-training is typically conducted over the image and text pair. For the textual part, the input is proceed in the same way as in the BERT to get a sequence of a word embedding. But for the image, they have firstly used the pre-trained models to detect the objects in particular image, and they have extracted the region features. Then using a linear transformation layer, all the extracted region features are transformed into the same dimension as the word embedding. And when they have got the features from both the modalities, to learn the cross-model representation, the word embedding and visual features are concatenated into a sequence and pass it through the multi-layer transformer model for pre-training. This model takes the visual features and the word embedding as an input, and the self-attention mechanism of transformer help to learn the image text alignment and produce a cross-model representation. In the pre-training of this VLP model, the concept of a BERT, that is bidirectional attention, is employed, but based on the requirement of a downstream task, like they make some changes to that encoder decoder model. For example, for the understanding task like visual question answering, it is fine to use bidirectional approach. That is, each token can attend all the tokens in the input, and which is very important in the visual question answering, that the model should aware about the aware about the thing that in which context that particular word is appearing in the question. And but for the generation task like image description, to simulate the generation process, a sequence to sequence attention mask is employed. That is, we only allow tokens to attend the position before it, not after it. And this is implemented by modifying the mask attention. And this, in the inference time, the image part can only see the image features, and the word token can see the image and the word which are appearing before it and including itself. But the model, the word cannot see the word which are appearing after it. In that way, they have simulated the generation task, like in the when we will have in the testing time, we will have just an image or a special CLS mark to start the generation process. So the model will take these both the input as an both the thing as an input and will generate a next token in the sequence. Both the model, like a bidirectional and the sequence to sequence approaches, are employed in this only unified encoder decoder for vision language training. Now, the object semantic aligned pre-training for vision and language tasks. Basically, on observing the success of vision language pre-training in improving the performance of downstream tasks, Microsoft proposed another model for the vision language pre-training. In this, we will see how the Oscar addressed the issues of ambiguity and lack of grounding are addressed here. This method has created a state-of-art results on various benchmark datasets and for various different tasks, including both understanding and the generation tasks. In the Oscar, the object tags that are detected in an image are used as an input, which is different from other vision language pre-training models that use only the tags and image pair as an input. In the Oscar, we have three parts: a description, firstly a description part, and then the object tags which are detected from the image, and the region features of that input image. In this approach, the object tags are considered as a language representation of a visual concept. That means that for this detected region where the dog is appearing, the tag dog will be the language representation of that particular visual concept. That is why this model, they are used as an anchor point to ease the learning the semantic alignment between the image and text pair, which was not present in the VLP model. There, just the bidirectional attention approach, self-attention approach of the transformer is used to learn the alignment between the image text pair. And this process of using object tag as an anchor is the key reason why Oscar outperform other pre-training models. And this process of using object tag as an anchor also solve the issues of lack of grounding, which is the one of the major issue of previous vision language pre-training models without tag. Here in this figure illustrates the process that Oscar model represent the image text pair in the semantic space. The figure A shows an example of input image text pair. In this approach, the object detection model can detect the dog and the couch, and the word dog and couch also appear in the input tags. The figure B shows that the object tags are used as an anchor point to align the image region features with the word embedding. And in the figure C, the semantic space of both visual features and the word embedding is shown. In the upper part, the yellow triangle is the visual features of couch, and the right square is the visual features of the dog. In this image, both the visual features are very close to each other, and because of this overlapping area, and this renders the ambiguity of the extracted visual features. But as shown in the semantic space, the lower part of this figure C, the dog and couch are very distinctive in the word embedding space. So here the yellow triangle is the word embedding representation of word couch, and this red square is the word embedding of a word dog. So from here we can see that the word semantic space is more representative than the image region features. And here is the Thyssen visualization of the cross-model representation learned by the both VLP model, baseline model, that is VLP, which we have discussed in the previous slides, and the Oscar model. On the right side, we have the cross-model representation learned by the baseline model, and at the left, we have the representation learned by the Oscar model. Here, the plus symbol is the image features, and the circles are the symbol is the text feature. Image and text feature of same category shared same color. That means that if you will take the if we take the features of a zebra, the plus which are shown in the green color are the visual features of the zebra, and this green circles are the visual features of this word zebra. Some key observation which authors have noticed from this particular visualization is that they have observed that using Oscar, the image and text features of same object are coming closer to each other. For example, for category person, if you will observe the distance between the visual features and the word embedding uh, representation learned by this baseline VLP model, there is a huge distance between them. But if we will observe that distance in the Oscar model, they are coming closer to each other. And another observation is that the object class of rated semantic are getting closer to each other, but they are distinguishable. For example, that if you will observe that from this marked class, this zebra class is very far, which have some semantic relationship, that they have all the like a bird, cat, and dog, all they are say belongs to the animal class. But if you will observe, it is the zebra is very far from the this mark class. But in the Oscar, the zebra is coming closer to the other rated classes, and but it is still distinguishable, which is not uh, done in the baseline model. Here we have a huge mix-up, and now we will see the how the Oscar model is pre-trained, is the tune for the downstream task. The Oscar model is pre-trained over 6.5 million image taxpayers, and this training data is collected from several publicly available data sets. The input of the model is word, tag, and region triplet. And in the pre-training, they have employed two laws, that mask token loss and contrastive loss. In the mask token loss, the model measures the mask token loss basically measures the model capability of recovering the masked element based on the context, and the contrastive loss predict if the tags and tag are matching with the input image or not. After pre-training, the model can be fine-tuned on the various downstream tasks, including the understanding or the generation task. This Oscar model is basically fine-tuned over the 6 understanding tasks, that is visual question answering, GQA, NLRV2, image text retrieval or text image retrieval, and the 2 generation tasks, image captioning and the novel object captioning. Now, how this model is tuned for the image description model. For the captioning model, as we have talked in the VLP model, that based on the requirement, they have to make some changes to the attention mask. So they have also did the same modification here, that each token can attend the token to the left, and the image region features and the object tags, but it cannot attend the tokens to its right. During the inference, the captioning model take image features, detected tags, and the spatial start marker as an input, and the mask token with associated with the input sequence. So that spatial tag marker, the object tags, and the image features will be fed to this model. It will predict the next token in the sequence, and after predicting the token 1, and that token will be concatenated with the input CLS, that is special start marker, and again it will be fed to the model, and the model will predict another token in the sequence, and this process will continue until the special end of sentence marker is predicted or the maximum length of the sentence is reached. And basically here we are just predicting the words in the sequence by greedy approach, but the authors have also used a beam search approach to improve the quality of the generated descriptions. They have used the beam size of a 5 at the particular instant in place of just selecting a single token. They will select the possible 5 tokens in the input, and at every time step they will select the 5 tokens for the next at next time steps. After fine tuning, we can see that the Oscar model have achieved new state of the art results on 6 different downstream tasks like image retrieval, text retrieval, image captioning, NoCap, VQ, QA, and the NLVR2. Here the blue line indicate the benchmark results achieved by the Oscar large model, and the row which are represented by triangle shows the improvement achieved by this Oscar model over the state-of-the-art approaches. Here in this figure, we can observe the output generated by Oscar model and the baseline VLP model without tag. Uh, Here the objects are colored based on their appearance in the ground truth. The objects which are colored with in the yellow color, they are appearing in both Oscar and baseline model. And then the objects which are colored with the blue marker, they are appearing in only in the Oscar and the tags. And the tags which are colored with the objects which are colored with the green color, they are just appearing in the tags. And from here, we, based on these generated description, it can be observed that the Oscar model can generate a more detailed description of a particular image, and then the baseline VLP model. And this is due to the use of accurate and diverse object tags and which are detected using a faster RCNN.